The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Cultures don't see this. We do not think of ourselves as a meat, sugar, alcohol culture. People do not walk around saying, oh wow, I'm so high on meat, alcohol, and sugar. You know, I can hardly stand it. But they are. And certain consequences flow from that. So as I make my way through this survey, you need to bear in mind that a culture takes its tone, its clothing, from the drugs that it admits, and you can know a great deal about a culture from the drugs that it excludes, the drugs that it excoriates and fears, because various drugs accentuate and suppress different parts of the psyche. So these are statements about anxiety, about various parts of the psyche. The striking thing when you set out to do a cultural survey like this is you discover that our culture, the culture of Europe, for most of us, some of us are black, some of us are Asian, but largely the roots of American culture lie in Europe. This is the most pharmacologically impoverished cultural area on the entire planet. It has the longest history of disconnection from any kind of ecstatic intoxication. And the cultural forms of Europe, linear, abstract, narcissistic, and promoting of male dominance, are, to my mind, exactly what you would expect in a culture long deprived of the boundary-dissolving, numinous encounter with the vegetable mind.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You're having a nightmare. What if it's true?
Ladies and gentlemen.
Alan, it's a possibility, isn't it?
The very word secrecy is repugnant.
Secrets.
In a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers,
Constant, extreme danger.
which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger,
Extreme danger.
that an announced need for increased security
This is Conspiracy Queries with Alan Hart.
will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit, to the extent that it's in my control.
You're crazy.
And no officious, high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes.
Isn't the Pentagon suspicious that all the building would blow up?
Or to withhold from the press and the public
I think you're just looking at things for the first time.
the facts they deserve to know.
You've had your whole f***ing life to think things over. What good's a few minutes more gonna do you now?
The facts they deserve to know. They deserve to know. Deserve to know.
Wow, what a day. Welcome to
Deserve to know.
Green Crush Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park. Got a lot of questions today, a lot of statements too. First statement of the day is, why am I again in this agony?
Deserve to know.
Hey, we're going to raise our fist today. God, I did that and I wasn't quite in balance. And then what happened with that one was when I... Hey, that's me from another show. Listen, I've got a good intro here. Let's take
Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park. These are the Conspiracy Queries. And I am the Alan Park. Still get to be here.
Yeah, that's how I used to do it. Still get to be here. I still get to be here. It's a great day, everybody. It's a great day for people who don't like me. I'm in a lot of agony. Hey, guess what? There's CBDs, and I'm not on opioids right now, and I won't be going to that. I'm in a lot of agony today. Had a bit of a setback. Anyway, it's going to be fun because what we're going to talk about is the perfect timing. I had a lot of loving, considerate people say, hey, we should maybe cancel the show. Maybe we could put it on another time. Maybe we, take it easy. I am taking it easy. This is the best part of my week. Don't take this away from me. Although they're trying to, check us out now and on YouTube. We're on YouTube available until Mark Zuckerberg and his minion team decide to scrape us off because I'm providing you with some information that's helpful and healthy, and it doesn't come from Pfizer and various other people such as Pfizer. So welcome to the show. I'm a bit rattled. We're starting late, but we're never really late because, as I've always committed to, we start at 2:03 and we're always a little bit late. So today was the latest one ever. And this is not an apologizing kind of situation. This is this is the way things happen today. Man, I got walloped on Sunday night. So we're going to go back to the old ways of going back into the soup, as it were. And I kind of brought this on myself, and it's okay. That's why I'm a little more aggressive about it. If you're just listening to Green Crush, we were talking with Florence Henderson of the Brady Bunch. She had a great recipe for cupcakes, and oh no, sorry, she's dead, and I don't eat cupcakes unless they're loaded with CBDs and THC and some really good chocolate, not that crap chocolate. I got off track there because what I'm trying to say is our special guest today is going to help me out. He doesn't even know probably at this point exactly how much he's going to help me out, but this is amazing. He will be doing this. Now I'm just making sure hey Russell, are my levels okay for you? Everything's good. All right, good stuff, because I can't tell. I got in a little late, set things up a little late. We're a little rushed in here. We have today with us Cam Noble. He is the CEO of Noble Extracts, and we're going to talk about extracting things from other things. Was that too vague? I was just leaving it at that point, so if the screeners at Google or Facebook or YouTube are listening, then they stop. Oh, just an extract, something from something. Okay, that's great. So now that they're gone? Okay, good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain what we're extracting. We're extracting cannabinoids. These are the elements inside this plant that's described on page 1 of the Bible that's been a food for thousands of years that some pigs are trying to wrap laws around. Yeah, that's happening. Can you believe it? Wait till you see some of the pictures of these people. We really do have to get a website proper. We're going to be selling Green Crush Bill Blair dartboards. And you can either, this is a cool thing, because with Bill Blair, he's the chief police architect. He's the guy that some idiots decided, you know what the number one guy to talk to would be if we're going to legalize this stuff? Not the folks that want to use it and have been using it for all kinds of great reasons for years, but a guy that used to put people in jail for it. Let's have him get on top of it. This was, again, the product of a sober mind, or series of minds, or strictures, or diktats coming from places that I also talk about on the other portion of this show, Conspiracy Queries with Alan Park. It's all the same thing. It's all tied in. It's all interconnected. And all I need is a TV show, that and a radio. So both. So that's why Jess is today with Turn It On Again. Because I'm turning on, again, my efforts against this thing, and it's turning on its efforts against me at the same time. Isn't that neat? The pain's coming back. Yes, the pain is coming back. And if you think I'm talking in code right now, I'm not. I'm not saying there's going to be any kind of marital reconciliation at all. That's not the pain coming back I'm talking about. That pain's gone. This pain is real, though. It's not a fake pain like that one. Like an emotion-based pain can often be far more intense because it's emotional. And I got this lesson from Mr. Spock. I'm a child of the 60s. Can it tell? Can you tell? Can you tell by that? Can you tell by the music? Can you tell by how old it is? Can you tell by my voice? Doesn't sound like it was when I was 20. So here we are in this land of I'm not supposed to be here, and this is the after the never was, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, it hurts like hell, but I get to do it. I'm supposed to be gone already, and I know how to mitigate this, and I know how to get on top of this. And what I've done, folks, is I've allowed myself to get to a point where I'm no longer dosing properly, as they say, with the cannabis oil that saved my life several times. I'm not doing it. I stopped doing it. Of course, I was vaping and I was taking oil here and there once in a while, but I wasn't taking the main course. Because you don't do it all the time anyway. You don't do it at the full course anyway, necessarily. And I decided to clean myself out of taking it on a regular basis. Now, the naysayers will go, oh, you take it all the time off and on. I saw you the other day, in fact, smoking a joint in front of the cops at CBC where you used to work, making fun of the questions they weren't asking and the issues they pretend that don't exist. You could say that, and I'd say, sure, I smoked a joint, but then again, you're the folks that say smoking a joint doesn't cure it. My doctor says that. I don't say it cures it either. So it doesn't matter that I also partake in a recreational basis. I've dropped off medicinal usage, which is when you really pound it, for quite some time now. Last regular dose of that was the same day I got on a flight to go to Colombia last year. That was February 15, 2017. So I'm not on the mainstream oil. And people were asking me, are you through? Is it over? Are you done with cancer? And I was hoping so, feeling that way. I was really feeling that way. I mean, basically because I was going to the doctors every month, getting a blood test, finding out that the blood is perfect and that the readings were excellent. And so I have been throwing a perfect strike down the middle, right into the glove of the catcher every single time. And cancer at bat has swung and a miss every single time since June 2015. However, the numbers were a little out of the box last week, and now there's a lot of pain coming on. And so what we do have is the sad part for me, the uncomfortable part is, boy, this hurts. And the good part is, I know I'm not taking the oil regularly, and my doctor knows that I'm not taking the oil regularly. I'm also not taking any other prescription medications whatsoever. I am an empty vessel. And make your jokes here. This is where you would put in an insult if you didn't, if you wanted to. And you could put in an insult because you love me, and those are funny back and forth. And then you could put in an insult if you hate me, because those are necessary. Because without the darkness that comes at me with this effort, I can't even reflect the light. So this is your 2-minute hate. Fuck that guy. How dare he? He said something nasty about a police officer. What would you do without police officers? I didn't say we weren't going to have them or we don't need them. I was saying that we don't take some G20 rights abusing son of a bitch, one of them, and put him in charge of the architecture of cannabis laws that are going to be afflicting us for the next series of decades. Let's remember, it was all good and gravy back in the day. Then they killed it in 1937. Thank you, Harry Anslinger. And like Adolf Hitler, you don't hear a lot of people running around proudly with the surname Anslinger. Because as soon as you find out someone's in the Anslinger family, the conversation either goes to that or you're accused of being just as mentally retarded, and I use that in the scientific term, as the predecessor, Harry, who fucked it all up for us and killed. I don't even know if we actually sat down and figured out the metrics. Are you a keener? Do you get on crunching numbers? Do you figure things out like that? Because I like to come up with those concepts. Can't actually sit down and do the numbers. But I'd like to figure out what it is that if you theorized back into the system that we were so taking our cannabis doses over the decades, and they were not restricted, and we were not sending people to jail, and we were not getting into gunfights over a substance that's readily and freely available for your health, and we were so allowing democratization of the economy that would so distribute this fantastic material. And we were getting on that page all the time. And we weren't denying people medicine, pain medicine that can help them and correct fully their issues, sometimes, depending on the issue and the severity of it and when you caught it. If we'd have gone that route all the way back from 1937, how fewer people would have been agonized over and going through agony themselves. Would have been a whole different world. Well, they didn't do that. They took it to a dark place instead. And then in comes Nixon, and he's got a big, fat, juicy compendium of facts about how amazing cannabis is, with Marijuana Rediscovered, written by Lester Grinspoon. And this was the thing that was a pile of studies put together and understandings, research, science, facts, made available to the president at the time. Probably through the 60s, they did that work, and they compendiumized it. They put it together, they collated the data, and they came up with some great news for Richard Nixon to move forward on for a social construct. But instead, that son of a bitch doubled down on racism and fear and negativity and corporate greed, and they further entrenched the war on drugs. Well, they started it, the actual war on drugs. And then that went on until Nixon was gone, and it kept on going with every president after him, regardless of party. Reagan kicked it up a notch, and so you go. And now we're just after all of those 80 years of shame and pain and death and sorrow unnecessarily, ready to retool things into the future. And I just will not stand by and watch what I can see as another series of constructed bullshit laws taking us down another 10, 20, 50 years of repressive, painful fact omission that can turn your life around. And in fact, extend your life, or in some cases, eliminate the cause for the reason that you're having so much trouble in the first place. So as soon as we can get some cop named Bill Blair to come down here, as soon as we can get somebody else, but he's so balls deep into his securities portfolio and how much money he's making on some of the companies that he's already invested into. Full disclosure, fucker, before you start dropping laws about where I can drive and what time, yes, I will have cannabis in my blood. It's part of my blood. I also make some of the components that cannabis makes in my spare time. Not enough to get by on, however. Fuck your dark science and your laws and your rules. They're designed from fear. They're coming from a place of lies. Your adherents are mindless. They haven't done the research. This is the true definition of the term ignorance. It doesn't mean you're a dum-dum. Don't call me ignorant. You're ignorant if you think that's the meaning of ignorant. Ignorant just means you haven't looked at it. So if someone says you're ignorant on all of the aspects of cannabis, take that as an opportunity to find out about what else you can do instead of taking it as an insult. Stop misrepresenting and misunderstanding what people are saying. A lot of folks are being very clear with what it is they're getting across. and a lot of other people are going to take some time to figure that out, and that's okay. Certainly I know I'm not the quickest study on a lot of things. But let's not attack people anymore when they're bringing facts. I don't give a shit if a fact hurts your feeling. That's for you to deal with. Your feelings. They're not my feelings. They're your feelings. You can sit there and giggle your ass off that I'm lying on a slab half the time until I got to this place 5 years ago. Go ahead. I'm not going to legislate against you from doing that. Oh, buddy, it's okay. Floyd's in house today. Floyd, the compassionate super animal. He probably wants to sit on my lap. No can do, buddy. Nobody gets to sit on my lap anymore. That's for sure. So, we will discuss these matters and other reasons why, because we're going to get into some really cool topics today. All of course, surrounding this secret substance. But that's when Cam Noble comes in, Noble Extracts. That was the beginning of the show that was going to be shorter than usual. Couldn't do it. Big Weed, why legalization isn't necessarily a boon for craft cannabis producers. This is on CBC Radio. Cannabis columnist Lester Black says Washington State offers a cautionary tale because they went down the road already, figured it out. And Brent Bambury has this piece. You should listen to it. But here's the bullet points. Canada, sometime this summer, as soon as Justin Trudeau pulls his thumb out of his sock drawer, says that the big players are going to do business. They're ready. They're going to be ready. How come you're not ready? Well, they weren't in cahoots the whole time, ahead of time, during the architecture of the new paradigm. So it's going to be tough now that there are so many large cannabis companies. Of course, Aurora now has swallowed up MedRelief. That was $3.2 billion worth of expansion. I remember MedRelief. Are they MedRelief now, or is it Aurora Cannabis? It's just Aurora, right? But there's some great folks at MedRelief. Hope they're okay. Thanks for coming by and even entertaining the notion that at one time I might be able to be involved with your situation. I'm a satellite in space, folks. I'm a fucking renegade across the board. I can't do that thing anymore, especially now they're swallowing everybody up. But it turns out that Aurora Cannabis is now so huge, and so are so many other companies, that the craft guys are going to have a tough time. That's democracy for you. You know, the one they tell you that we don't want to lose every time we kick open another country and drop poisonous chemicals on it. That's democracy for you. That's what it is. So that's part of it anyway. Yeah, so that's what's going on there, folks. It's the cannabis paradigm is not going the way it ought to, and I'm not going to be able to talk about it. In fact, apparently I'm so incendiary that when the Lift Expo comes to town, and within the Lift Expo I get an invitation from a cannabis purveyor to talk at their booth, and when I go in that booth and do that talk, you can't get more crowd-friendly and preaching to the converted than this. And yet my microphone is shut down to murmur level. I'm all done with that company too, folks. They're busy making sure other people can't open up businesses in this place, and I'm making sure that I understand some of the background reasons on why that is. So I guess I won't be talking at any cannabis booths either. I'm a renegade and an outlaw within the cannabis industry, never mind general society. So here we go. We're going to bring some guests in pretty soon, but I'm just making myself and my stance clear. Because when I'm talking about legalization of cannabis, I'm not talking, that's a bad word. I should never use that word. It's confusing to people, and a lot of people are confused by it. It should be decriminalization. Like, imagine the pressure of you going out and buying a Nerf gun right now. Wouldn't be too hard. Just get that toy store open. Go in there, get yourself a hunk of plastic and a rubber band or a spring or whatever it is. You got yourself a Nerf gun. Nobody's giving a shit about that. It's okay. You can use it anytime you want. You don't need to reorganize society around the strictures and legalizations of it. Yes, it can be dangerous if you use it properly. So can a window. But when I get stories like this from Yindrek Bayer, a friend of mine on Facebook, says, I shouted, it's gone. I rang my dad. He was very emotional. He dropped the phone. from being told you're going to die to then finding out you're not is incredible. I can vouch for this. More than once, sadly. But cancer charities have warned the alternative therapies can interfere with treatment. Yeah, that's true. It can prevent the substances in the treatments from being sold. Julia Frater from cancerresearch.uk, or in the UK, and I hope I don't offend her, because now in the UK you're not even allowed to say anything that someone might take offense to. Wow. I hope people don't take offense to the fact that I'm laughing, that it's funny that some people can't have the offense taken. She says we don't even advise patients to use any alternative therapies to treat cancer. Isn't that wonderful of her? Thank goodness my doctor wasn't that close-minded. He just said, we don't have anything for you. You're done. Nothing else works. So he didn't advise me to do that either, and I had to find one. Standard medical treatments for cancer are all evidence-based. Let's see those 100% chemo scores, please. So they have been tested to see how safe and effective they are. Okay, well, now talk to us about how safe and effective chemo is. Oh, no, they don't mention that, okay. She says some natural, quote-unquote, remedies can interfere with medical treatments, so it's important that patients speak to their doctor before making any decisions. Of course, that does happen. Of course, they don't give you an option. You try this anyway, and the doctor's still upset about it. My guy told me it was a bad idea, that there wasn't enough testing. My first guy. Meanwhile, he's scratching his head trying to figure out how come I'm doing so great and riding my bike around the city. So these are the kinds of results you can get. You can get. You might get. It's possible to obtain for legalese. I didn't say this will happen to you. It's also up to your diet, your mindset, the folks you hang around with. You'll probably have to leave half your family because half of them are probably stuffed up with enough idiots. Trust me, I know. I just left one who criticize all kinds of things that are dead accurate, and then run around behind your back and mutter things and get all worried about shit they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. So you've got to find the right circle of folks to hang around, and sometimes they didn't come by blood or marriage, especially a short 5-month marriage. But you do have to pay attention to your doctor sometimes, folks. It's true, I can guarantee this, and here's some great doctor advice that I think we need to trust our doctor at time, and I think you can zone in on yourself enough to understand that you do have to trust your doctor. I'm not saying don't trust your doctor, and I won't get in trouble for saying that I am saying that. I'm saying some of the ones I had a run-in with were less than fantastic, but it is true that sometimes it is important to listen to your doctor at all times. Take in what he has to say or she has to say, and understand that they really do know what's going on. And so for a little sage advice on that note, let's...
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel. Yes, according to this repeated nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Why not change to Camels for the next 30 days and see what a difference it makes in your smoking enjoyment? See how Camels agree with your throat. See how mild and good-tasting a cigarette can be.
Yeah, so see how mild and good-tasting a cigarette can be. So there's some doctor advice right there. Fantastic. So there, I'm giving you doctor's advice. Now, I admit it's a little old to go out and smoke a Camel. I'm just saying go out and smoke a Camel. And if you're going to smoke a cigarette, at least go by what some doctors do say, which is smoke a Camel. Okay, so smoke a Camel. Now, I'm getting sick and tired of all of the doctors that I know that recommend that you should smoke a Camel, when most of these assholes know that a menthol cigarette is far more healthy. And you should be smoking Cools. Who are these Camel bastard doctors? Okay? Now, of course, I'm being an asshole right now, but I am sick and tired for real of being told that cannabis oil is a bad idea when there was no other particular way for me to get out of this hole. Might not be the best thing ever. But it's a rope ladder in a hole. You don't stand there and go, oh, no, that's okay. Can I get an extension ladder, please? Brand new one from Home Depot, shiny aluminum. Okay, is that okay? Rope ladders are kind of, just take the rope ladder. So that's what I used. I was told by doctors, their predecessors, a shill for tobacco companies, that I should probably do that. But I didn't do that, and I'm not doing that. So this is proving my point that you can't always take whatever a doctor says, especially if he's on TV and especially if it's involving a corporate product. For reals, y'all. Can't do it. So while I'm thrilled to be here still, I could just go to an island on Tahiti and take it easy. But instead of doing this, I'm taking this knowledge and bringing it to you. I've gone full circle, man. I used to be afraid of having cancer and afraid of telling people how I don't have it or got rid of it because I didn't want to get in trouble. I am trouble. Okay, I can't even speak at a fucking cannabis convention without some puss sliding the mic down. So I'm not canceling my show this week because of a little brand new fresh sea pain. Okay, I have to come in here to regain some sanity. And I love doing this show, and I love people that I'm meeting on the show, and I got a couple here today. We're here with Cam Noble, who is on microphone number 3, right? 2, 1, and 3. Okay. There's Cam. There we go. And also, brand new guy. Didn't even know you were coming in the studio.
Yeah, our good friend Harrison Jordan put me in touch.
Alex Samuelson.
Yes.
Is
great
here.
To be here.
Harrison Jordan, of course, I'll give him a quick shout out before we get some meat off of this bone, okay? Harrison Jordan is, he's a guy I know who is in 2 positions right now. He's a guy I used to know who's articling to be a lawyer, and he's a guy who's almost a lawyer. And he knows all about these topics. He knows all about the 7 laws we used to have to deal with, like sons of bitches in this country, various different punitive measures over cannabis, which, needed to be used sometime. We're replacing those, though, because we're legalizing it. And there'll be 45 new laws instead. Isn't that neat?
Yeah, we're about to get a few more, I think.
And a few more coming. Yes, okay. So we're going to make sure you guys are hot enough. Right on. So let's get into it. So welcome to the studio. Thank you guys so much for coming in.
Great to be here.
Yeah, great to be here.
Now, I know Cam, and I know Cam is coming. Cam is with Noble Extracts, and of course they're available everywhere, and we're going to get into that. But just real quickly, just because I'm surprised
That's all right.
by Alex, I want to see what is Alex doing here, and tell us all about what you're doing and why you came into the studio today.
Well, I guess it's a little bit of a two-parter. So I go by Alex the Chemist. It's my personal brand. I really enjoy talking about the science of cannabis, and I'm very passionate. I speak at LIFT conferences and CanWest production conferences all over the country. And I like to bring awareness to different issues within the cannabis sphere. And what I like to do principally is take what is in the research papers and what people, scientists, PhDs are talking about.
A study shows.
Exactly, and
Right.
translate that to the public.
Right.
Because I was a tutor for about 5 years. But I am also lead chemist for Next Leaf Solutions, and we're a cannabis extraction and processing technology company out of Vancouver, BC.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we the long and short is we turn a waste stream of trim into distillate oil.
Okay, now tell folks that don't know really all this much about it, and I'm not making fun. I mean, we are now at a pivot point where a load of folks are just starting to wake up and going, okay, well, if even the government is saying sometimes it's healthy, maybe I should take a look at it. And so those are the open-minded, the middle band of society. There'll be the people that always think it's Satan's weed.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's us up here, understanding things and wanting to. And so for folks that don't know what the part is that you're talking about, the trim, what does that mean? Tell folks.
Oh, perfect. So when you have the cannabis plant, it's a flower, and it has a lot of sugar leaves and other leaves and random bits. And when you were to get it if you get cannabis from a licensed producer or a dispensary, it looks really nicely manicured, and
It's like a little bouquet of beautiful bud
yeah,
kind of thing. And
exactly.
You want that.
Exactly. So, and the just like the little bits that come off is just called colloquially as the trim. So, and typically, this will go for, it doesn't have as much cannabinoids in it, and, is not as high quality than the actual bud component.
That's why they trim it out.
Exactly.
Right.
So then, a lot of licensed producers will actually throw this out. And we can help them turn that into a revenue stream.
So it's a cost of doing business on the one hand, and then the next thing you know, it's actually going into the profit margin.
Exactly.
So it's garbage that you can really use
into gold.
Yeah. And so and so there are cannabinoids in it, but when you take it all and process it effectively, as you do, and you can talk to us about that, you're getting whatever is left in there to be able to use.
Exactly. So, we're trying to use every part of the buffalo. And,
right.
If we're going to be distilling these and concentrating these molecules, it doesn't matter the source. It doesn't matter if it's a high-quality bud or low-quality bud or trim. And that's why we concentrate mostly on the low-quality bud and trim because, you can take the tops, you can sell that for a high-quality price.
Right.
But the rest you can turn into oil, which is, that's going to be the base product for vape pens, topicals, and edibles.
Right. So that's incredibly non-wasteful. This is another aspect about this whole venture.
It's all sustainable.
It sustains itself. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, that's a fantastic thing to find out you can do. And I mean, they did that in the mainstream society with they take the waste and they put it into the water because fluoride is an aluminum byproduct. So it's great to take an aluminum byproduct and then just put it and then drink it.
Yeah, or wipe it on our teeth.
Yeah, rub it on your teeth. So that's what clear thinking people that don't advocate cannabis kind of like to do with their waste products.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And further sicken us. And I'm very sarcastic and dry and edgy today. It's all, oh, God. I'm also having spasms, so I won't be able to cut my mic at times. Don't freak out. It's okay. It's all part of the journey on the way to this next level of what I have to do. I'm basically an empty vessel. I don't have any cannabis in me on a regular basis. The oil, I haven't been taking it, so we'll talk about that later. And I haven't been taking any meds. So I'm at this place now where my doctor, my oncologist will admit that whatever I do changes something, he's going to have to get on it. So
right.
This is going to bring a mainstream guy into the fold. So I got to take a few stabs in the side here, apparently, for that.
Well, I wish we weren't in Ontario, or else we'd have access to a whole lot more oil.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So listen, Cam's a quiet guy. I'm going to have to jack your mic up a little.
Come closer.
Yeah, come in a little bit closer. Right. So, okay, so thanks for sharing that with us, and we will definitely get back to you. So, folks, that's what it is. Every part of the plant, I even say, like a lot of growers I found out at one point, they just throw out the male plants. They throw them out because you got to separate them from the female plants. That's for sure. Almost no matter what you're doing, but you don't need to dispose of them. There's so much stuff in there already. The only thing missing is the THC at that point. You can do all kinds of things with it. So this is a very sustainable industry. So Cam is the CEO of Noble Extracts, and what I don't want you to do is rush, and what I do want you to do is tell me, at one point you were some younger kid going to high school or whatever. You maybe smoked a joint, etc.
Yeah, once or twice.
So that's your experience in high school, a little bit in and out?
Well, I smoked a bit in high school, and then obviously through college you start to experiment with cannabis and other, market value psychedelics, and you get into it. And after that I went to grad school, started, getting ready for my 9 to 5 slot into things, and got sidetracked a bit. I was out in Australia and get the call from my mom, and my dad's PSA is just boosted to nut crazy amounts, and that really hit me. And as someone who had used cannabis, I'd heard a thing or two, and I had a couple buddies who were at some of the earlier dispensaries and compassionate clubs in Vancouver Island. So on a break, I come home, I talk with my dad. He's not sleeping. He's in pain.
Just a quick say to folks who might not know exactly what CAM means. I sure do. The PSA is the prostate-specific antigen score, and it's meant to be very low or 0. And unfortunately, your dad's was too high. So you're trying to lower that. You want to bring that down.
And he went for the nuclear option, the removal, the radiation, and the chemo. Just that trifecta of awful shit going into and out of your body. And so I came home and I witnessed it firsthand, him going through that. So I said, okay. Then we went to see, at the time Dieter was still there, at VCBC. And Dieter and Ted's shop down there.
Where's that?
That's on Johnson, Victoria Cannabis Buyers Club.
Okay, this is on Victoria in Vancouver Island, just off the west coast of Canada. Hello, international viewers.
Actually, their founder is the reason for RV Smith. So that's Ted.
Wow.
And that's the reason that the MMAR existed.
Okay,
Well,
we'll get to
was,
those letters later. But
Yeah.
you're sitting there freaking out because your dad's going through the big triple whammy.
And he's
they
not
did
sleeping.
everything.
So that's the biggie. He's not sleeping, therefore he can't heal. And when you're, dumping this shit in your body every day. So we went down, got a couple of, I believe they call them Buddha balls down there. I mean, it's just a dosed edible with a lot of good fats and a lot of good calories in there because you can't eat, right?
Right.
You can't do anything except just feel like shit all day.
Uh-huh.
So we gave him got one of those. They actually sat him down for about 45 minutes, talked him through everything, listened to his symptoms, offered him some things, and that's the first night he slept. So I kind of, light switched in my head. Holy shit.
That worked.
That worked. And that worked on a medical level. Until then, I'd just been, your average BC guy smoking a bit of bud. And I realized the power of it. And I started to do research. Finished up school and took a hard right and entered the cannabis industry.
Wow. So you were going to be doing something more like...
Yeah, I was going to be a lawyer.
A lawyer. And it's okay. We got lots of those.
Yeah.
And so now how's your dad?
Oh, he's good. He's good. He's in remission. I forced him to eat about 300 milligrams of 10-1 CBD THC oral syringe a day, and he's doing fine.
Was he a dude who was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing any pot, son?
I mean, he came through San Fran and Maui in the 60s. So,
so
he
knew what it was.
He was okay with it, but, older dude, he's thinking, really, is smoking a bit of bud? And it's like, no, it's not about that.
Yeah.
And that's what really got me into the science of it because, smoke or grinding up a plant material and lighting the end on fire, it's an okay mechanism, but there's so much more in the plant that we can isolate and that we can formulate into these new value
And you're just
adds.
burning it off.
Exactly.
You're just eliminating it.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, I always say there are many roads to Jerusalem. There's many ways to do this thing.
Right. Exactly. As long as you don't put the embassy there. Oh, no, they are doing that. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, that did happen, didn't it?
I wasn't sure. Sounded like a nightmare. Anyway, so you started to work on it, as you say. So,
yeah, well,
so what did that
I started
involve?
Working, I started in the retail, working, was a bud tender. That's, where a lot of people in the industry now, they cut their teeth, moving product on the other side of the counter. And I started realizing the different types of client we'd get in. And, you'd start reading white papers or hearing about things like RSO and what's that, and solventless or bubble. And then, shatter came in, and it was like, well, what's that? And,
right.
Then the distillate, and then we hear this thing called terpenes, and it's like, oh, okay. So by that point, I decided to, make use of what legal skills I'd gained and start doing work with local councils to try and have dispensaries, legal in these municipalities. So I started doing that, and after a brief stay in there, I started making extracts. And then Noble
you had to buy some equipment and get that going?
I sure had to, so I had to earn a little bit.
Yeah. And so your dad benefits from this now? You still?
Oh, yeah.
He still uses it?
Yeah, he uses it every day. Like, I've got him, like I said, on a 10-1 syringe. And, I mean, he's in remission now, touch wood, but he's he benefits from it. He's
nice.
Eats it every day. And about every year or so, we'll go see his doctor who, says, yeah, you need to keep eating this stuff. So we found the right oncologist.
Wow,
basically.
sure did. And how long has it been now since he's been sort of cleared in that zone of comfort?
3 years in remission now.
3 years now.
So,
wow,
that's incredible.
Gee whiz, that is incredible. That's where I was until Sunday. I don't know what happened. I'll figure it out later. But on that note, you also you say if you can take something and make it better. So you talk about. Here's one of my problems: is I made my own Rick Simpson oil.
Right.
So for folks, there's no such thing as Rick Simpson oil like you can buy a can of Coca-Cola. It's just a name because of Rick Simpson, who got sort of famous for putting together some earlier available yet highly suppressed facts.
Yeah.
Right. And over time, he was able to come up with this thing, and I found it on YouTube, and that's how I got going with it. But later on, when I became aware of dispensaries, I would notice that, one dispensary would have a thing called Phoenix Tears, which is the other name for it. Phoenix, of course, being the bird rising from the ashes of death. And so you're coming back, which is great. And Rick Simpson oil. So there'd be like RSO, Phoenix Tears, and then different companies or different packages of this. And to me, it's I just avoided it like the plague because there is no real such thing as, and maybe you have a good recipe for this, maybe you do, and it's different, and how do I know? and I know what I need when I'm in that situation. So I never bought any but maybe there's good stuff out there. I don't know. What do you think about that?
The beginning of RSO and what Rick Simpson did, I'm never going to, undermine that, because what he did is he gave a lot of people a sort of DIY solution on how to make their own medicine.
That's it. I'm here. High five.
Exactly.
I will never I'll always have a soft spot for that thing, even if I get onto some turbocharged, hopefully, that's what I want to do, version. But that's the rope ladder that got me out of the hellhole, you know?
I always start by saying, like, look, man, what he did, super good.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, it's it's your rice cooker tech, right? It's soak in naphtha or ethanol or ISO or whatever you get your hands on.
Yeah.
Burn off the solvent in a rice cooker, add a little water at the end, and you've got your black tar oil.
That's it. That's the glue. So that's great. Tell us what's good about that. Why is that good? Why do you tip the hat in the first place?
Well, because at the time, a lot of people didn't have access to anything. We come from the coast, right? So how many shops are there? And there's 41 shops in Victoria alone. There are, I don't even know how many producers.
We're going to put that many across Ontario.
It's
going to be amazing.
You guys are crazy, man.
I keep meaning to check if Ontario is as large as Texas.
Well,
but it's on that scope.
I was going to say, it's like I can't wait for the Soviet lineups at the OCS. I'll be tweeting that out all the time.
Going on.
Yeah.
Hamilton's going to be like crazy.
Did you bring your punch card? We're running a promotion.
Yeah, put your hand out, comrade. Here's your irradiated butt.
Yeah, listen, I'm embarrassed about it. It's not like it's all happening because it's my advice or anything. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
We've been out here kicking against it hard, so. But it's a good thing. Like you know that it's a good thing in the first place. So if we just talk about the essence of why it's good, then those are the factors we need to extrapolate into other things that. I mean, you've got a great last name to have an extract company.
Yeah, it's not bad, eh?
That is wicked. I mean, you could have been
tell people it's the characteristic. It's not so much the last name, but
Yeah.
It's more of the plant's nobility than mine. I mean, sometimes. I imagine after a few drinks, my nobility is a little compromised.
But it just hangs with the name so well.
It works well.
Park extracts would just sound stupid if I had that going on. But noble extracts, I love the two-tone meaning. There's so many double meaning things in all of this.
There's some layers for sure.
Yeah. So what's great? Tell us from the point of view, like, so what are you going to get when you crack open a big old tub of black Rick Simpson goo? How does that help you out?
First off, you can make it yourself. And like I was saying, back in the day, you didn't have a lot of options for an extract. You didn't have pressure columns, or you didn't have secondary process, but you could make Rick Simpson oil in your backyard feasibly with not that much danger. I mean, unless the ISO caught on fire, but usually it was fine. So I've always been okay with that. And also, it's it's pretty full spectrum. You're going to get all those cannabinoids in there. And the nice thing about ethanol is it tends to strip absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Right. I used isopropyl 99.9%.
Yeah.
That's all I could
works
get
too.
my hands on,
I mean, depending on your province, that's how most people can get.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day, if anybody I heard going to Alberta, I'd be like, can you bring me back a couple bottles of Everclear?
Everclear, yeah. Same thing with Quebec out here.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But so I've always been stoked on that. You can make it yourself. It was a good solvent for getting all the cannabinoids out, and it was fairly low risk.
And it's very easy to, the thing about fire, it's very easy to mitigate against that, right? Like you don't use fire, you're not cooking it on a pot outside, and you don't use a ring kind of stove, or a flame stove. You use a black, non-heating, non-sparking ring if you were going to do that.
Yeah. And
we
would never tell people how to make ours.
No, I'm just saying if you were going to do it,
you
just wouldn't use fire in a solvent. I mean, we all know that anyway. That's not advice worthy of pulling a show down for. That's
I've seen
just
some
basic.
photos of guys with heat guns on BHO slabs that it's gone poorly for.
Oh,
so
yeah.
You think it's common sense, but common sense is not common sometimes.
I'm not a fan of that whole what I've seen about that.
As a chemist, I've seen some horror stories. I've visited a number of MMAR and ACMPR licensed grow sites in my day now.
Right.
For about 3 years now, and from sea cans underneath up to way out in the woods and just up in condos, craziest spots. But the things that shock me are when untrained people try to do BHO. One guy was doing this.
And tell us what BHO is real quick.
Oh, butane hash oil.
Right.
But yeah, one guy was doing this on a concrete slab, He had nothing fixed or nothing tied to anything sturdy. Like the whole system was just sort of balanced up, and he was like shaking the butane can above his head, and he's like, he's showing me how he does it, because I'm like, oh well, how do you do it? Like, can I see your? Because I make the best BHO, right? So
yeah, well that's why regulations ever want to be in place.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nuts,
definitely.
but you kind of hope for a little pilot light of sanity in most people, right? Especially when you're trying to get a medicine that's going to turn your life around, or give you a shot at continuing it.
And again, that's what was nice about RSO or Phoenix Tears, or call it what you will. But on the other side of the coin, first off, you get a ton of chlorophyll through there.
Is that a bad thing? Chlorophyll's good, isn't it?
I mean, personally, I've found that a lot of chlorophyll in the stomach can tend to aggravate your digestive system, and when you're trying to feed
it can be
someone,
kind of an irritant.
Yeah, it can be quite the irritant, and I find that to be bad, especially for a lot of patients. There's a way to mitigate that by cooling your ethanol or whatever, but most people don't have access to that.
Okay, so that's good if you can eliminate the chlorophyll along the way. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And that can be done, but again, then you get into sort of what we do, and then you fall down the rabbit hole, and next thing you know, you got $500,000 lab.
Yeah, and it can go deep.
Yeah, you can go deep on that gear acquisition.
All the toys.
all the Lyft killed me this year.
Oh, did it?
Oh, just looking at all the stuff.
Yeah. Well, we're building out our lab right now. We're taking possession of a new facility June 1st.
Nice.
And I'm just like a kid in a candy store.
That's like days away.
Yeah,
nice. A lot of people, you'll already have it by the time they hear this.
That's true.
That's incredible. So okay, so now we're back to this stuff, and it's okay. It's okay. So now we have this thing that we can make ourselves, and we can use it, and there's a lot of good stuff in there, regardless of the solvent you used, and you didn't burn your house down. And now you're starting to feel better because the content of the oil that you made is got all these terpenes and cannabinoids, and you've got these receptors, right?
Unfortunately, due to the boil off at atmosphere, on high heat, you're definitely going to lose a lot of those terpenes as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of another issue with the whole RSO tech. And again, it's better than nothing. I'm always going to stress that. I'm not here to crap on Phoenix Tears, but
no, it's a thing everybody can get on if they need it.
I regard it as like a proto distillate or a proto solventless extract. It was great,
amazing,
but we can do it better now.
Okay, so that's why you are here. You're not here with RSO is okay. It's a good start on your hat. You got noble extract.
Exactly.
So noble, you now know and you were driven by the passion of helping your dad. This is the thing. The guiding light on so many of these things is, of course you're going to want to make money. Of course you want to be successful, but you also wanted to be a lawyer at one time, and that all changed. Now you're doing this because all those things will come because the thing powering you, this is an altruistic man here. He's trying to get his dad well, and he falls into the rabbit hole. You might as well earn your keep at this science, huh?
Well, exactly. And I know generally a lot of people that get into the extracts game and get into the market aren't driven by profit right off the bat.
It's amazing. I can't believe the amount of help and way I get it to people. I just want to get it to them. It's not like, oh yeah, I've got a bunch of hairbrushes, but they're $20 each. You got to make sure you buy the right one. It's never about that.
I think one of the things that both Cam and Zach and myself all share in a great passion is, when we get up, we're passionate about what we do because we're making medicine for people, whether that's just as simple as cooling off at the end of the day rather than consuming alcohol.
Well, if Zach cared, he'd be here. I don't buy that for a minute.
He needs a little medicine.
Yeah, he does.
He's got that. He's got what I guess they used to call it cup cough, but now we're not allowed to indulge at these conferences, so I guess it's a conference handshake cough.
Yeah. But you're right, though. There's such a caring, giving bunch of folks. Like when you get to meet people, oh, I got a cream for that. They just want to jump on and help everybody out. It's fantastic.
They just want to help, and like a lot of the guys out in BC, I know. I make fun of people like Travis Lane from Levity Solutions. He's an awesome grower.
Oh, I know that. Yeah, that's a Facebook friend right
guy.
there.
He's a hell of a guy, but
It's great stuff.
In terms of knowledge, he'll just drop $100 bills around the conference floor all day because he doesn't care. For him, it's all about the medicine.
Right.
And he's been able to parlay that into a fairly successful business, but at the same time, he's not one of those people to hide trade secrets
basically.
Or hoard tech or anything like that.
Yeah, we have this very popular wave of kind of hoarding TV shows. Have you ever seen those things where people hoard stuff?
No.
they just, it's called Hoarders.
Oh,
There's
the Hoarders show. Yes. Yeah. No, I've seen that
There's
one.
a show called Hoarders, and it's all these, poor, unfortunately, obviously mentally disturbed folks. You can't be doing that if you're all okay. And they profile them and all the crap that they hoard. But they only do it at the one end of the economic scale. They don't talk about the hoarders on fucking Wall Street. Have you noticed that?
IP hoarders.
Yeah, they don't have a show about that. It's kind of, get on that, somebody. Somebody should get that TV show going. So give me some science here. Now, listen, did you work with RSO in the first place and strip it down and change it to something else, or was it a whole different means?
RSO, when we're talking about distillation, which Alex brought up, I mean, to me, I look at that and I view that as crude. There's gold in it, but at the same time, there's a lot of other stuff that I've got to strip away through pre-processing, carbon scrubs, good layer or good column chromatography. But that's kind of step one in what a lot of people would use to make their distillate, to distill cannabinoids out of it in one of the purest ways currently possible, save for recrystallization, which is a whole different ball game.
If we ever do a movie of this, Craig Lauzon is going to play you in the movie. Do you know that guy?
No, but I'll take it.
I'm going to pull up a picture of him.
I'm not playing me. I'm going to hide somewhere.
Keep talking. Yeah, you can't play you. You get an actor to do it.
No, that won't be good. I'm going to be on a Gulf Island somewhere hanging out with my dog.
That's amazing. So okay. So what do? You start with a chunk of bud. You start with a plant. You start with a brick of. What do you do?
And fill me in on whatever aspect of the tech I miss. But you start with your starting material, whether it's crown nugs or the leafiest trim you've ever seen in your life. And for us at Noble, we'll go usually to our CO2 extractor. We use something called supercritical fluid carbon dioxide as our solvent. It's not the most common solvent, but
did you make it up? Like, is this like
nope,
a superhero
no, I didn't make that
liquid?
Up.
Science fiction.
Yeah,
it sounds like it.
Yeah, there's some gamma rays and then out of there.
Spider goes by.
Exactly, a spider gets super irradiated and then he's jacked and he makes some oil for me. It's great.
I'm just saying, because I've never heard these terms, but then again, I'm not in the extract business. But
CO2 is a cool solvent and something I like to do, and I've spent a lot of wrench time on because it's at atmosphere after the extract is done. It tends to gas off into a gas that's already pretty prevalent in the air, but at the same time it's also a really powerful solvent, and it's tunable based on what sort of terpene or cannabinoid profile you want out of your oil. So say if I start with a 4-to-1 CBD to THC blend that's high in, I don't know, what's a heavy terpene, linalool or something, I don't know. You can run your machine and create a bias out of those different terpenes or heavier compounds or their cannabinoid profiles, and you can actually change the starting sort of oil you're working with and then refine from there.
Wow.
So I like it, and
so I like it. That's,
yeah, so I'm pretty fun with it.
It gets you a hat anyway.
Oh yeah, it gets you a hat.
That's
for
amazing.
Sure.
That's fantastic. So, and how do you eventually experiment? Like you say, okay, I've got a new batch. Let's take some. I got a new batch. Let's take some. You have to see how the different effects are in your body with the final product.
Well, what we did early on is we bought ourselves a GC, a gas chromatograph, so that we could.
Oh, sure, I got a couple of those.
Yeah, no, it's I got about 3. I use one as a doorstop. It's great.
Yeah. How much an item is that? What does that cost? Gas chromatograph.
11 grand.
11 grand for a gas chromatograph. So I get 2 for like 18 maybe.
I mean, they'll cut you a deal.
Okay.
I'll give you a number after this. They'll cut you a deal.
So you take that thing and whatever that does.
And I like to what it does is it tests the cannabinoid and terpene profiles pretty accurately, so I get a good sense of what the starting material is.
Right.
And then from there I'll be able to tune what our parameters on the machine are and aim for what I want. So for me, as an extractor, the holy grail for me currently is to have a finished concentrate that's a true concentrate. And to me that means it has a very similar profile to the starting material. So it's what I like to call a true spectrum unadulterated concentrate.
I like to call it that too.
So, and that's for me, that's always been the goal, because I mean, there's so much in that plant we just don't know. Yeah. And, I spend a lot of time reading studies and white papers and things like that. But, we've been hampered as an industry by the lack of studies that have been able to happen. I mean, some of the best stuff comes out
This
of
all
Israel.
comes down to the laws again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and also the grants being given.
And actually, I was at a medical cannabis week panel on Wednesday, and Dr. Mark Wayne from Tweed.
Yeah.
He was talking about, he had this great term which I really want to popularize, which is we've hit the ceiling on medical education, because well, it sounds weird. It sounds weird because
no, we haven't.
Well, no, in terms of what we know and what we can express as like true scientific fact.
Oh,
right?
I see. Okay.
So from that
but there's more to have.
There's so much. And the second,
I mistook you there.
Yeah,
I thought you meant we're all done. We're good. We got it all.
Jump the gun. So the second part of that is it just harkens to the need for clinical research trials so that we can expand our knowledge, right? So like we've already come to a certain point where we have only like a rough, crude understanding of the endocannabinoid system and how these different medicines, terpenes, flavonoids, cannabinoids, how they all interact, and in what sort of dosages, to help with different forms of, like, let's say, cancer or other types of things. So, and once we have a better understanding, then like we can tune it in and really have smart drugs to target different forms of ailments.
Amazing.
So that's what he says.
But
so
it's all still coming from the mother plant, right?
All coming from the
thing.
plant and the interactions with the brain and the body.
Because that's one of the things that people have a hard time understanding or believing. The cannabis sort of fix is because you need specifically targeted drugs around the body. You got a heart problem, a cholesterol problem, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And but with cannabis, it's just addressing all of those things because you have these receptors. You don't have a Tylenol receptor per se, but you do have a cannabis receptors all over your body.
And it's such a deep field. I mean, not only are we at a medical sort of ceiling, we're also at a genetic ceiling, because a lot of the material that we get to work with has been bred for the past, 20, 30 years to be these, ultra THC high race car genetics that are incredibly, almost ruinously expensive at times to be able to grow. Whereas there's so many more cannabinoids I want to play with. I want to play with CBG. I want to play with CBDV. I want to play with THC.
What do you figure that is? CBG. Give us that. I don't hear that too much.
CBG is the sort of the mother cannabinoid. So from there, a lot of the cannabinoids in the plant will actually derive from, during the flowering cycle, it'll sort of come from
it's
there.
The stem cell kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's the precursor. It's the master precursor of all the cannabinoids.
Yeah.
Wow, I would look great on a T-shirt.
Yeah, the mother cannabinoid.
Master
patent pending trademark.
A big UFO coming out of a cloud sort of thing.
Now we're getting somewhere. Yeah, that's incredible. Wow.
But, I want to play with those genetics, and they just don't exist out there right now.
So how would you do that? You would just...
Well, you've got to, it's not up to me. It's more up to the breeders currently.
Yeah, and there's the one thing that I found interesting about, because I'm from Ontario, I'm from Toronto, and over here,
no one says it like that.
Yeah, I know. I always enunciate. And so when I moved to Vancouver, I came from a very social cannabis industry over here. We have a lot of social networking events. This is where a lot of finance and business and executives are. But really, the heart and soul and the mecca is out in BC.
Sure.
And I found that there's almost like a lot of baggage with the history, like Jim, messed up a deal with Frank, 10 years ago, so they don't talk and their people don't talk. And so I found that there's actually not so much of a social networking event or social networking out there. And, it's just a very different industry out there.
Well, we've got a bit of that kind of nonsense going on here too.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean.
It's almost a product of what that industry's had to go to, though, or had to go through, because you think, 20, 30 years, there's some growers out there that are third generation.
Yeah.
And those feuds, they last long. It's almost been the nature of the beast. And I think one of the big moves right now for a lot of the guys looking to connect with these craft growers is, on one hand, you need to exploit those relationships and show them, come to the light.
Yeah. Well,
this sounds like a discussion on Quebec's maple syrup industry.
Yeah,
oh, wow,
it's pretty simple.
You know what I mean? Have you seen that documentary? It's on Netflix.
Every industry has this drama, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's insane. It's really good. I forget the name of it. You check it out. But yeah.
But I think there's some really great geneticists and breeders out there. One that I know personally, he's on Twitter, Chimera Genetics. He talks a lot about like the papers, the science stuff he does. He shares a lot of top level knowledge out there. Dr. Natasha Ray, Dr. Jonathan Page, the list goes on. And, there are some of these high CBG or unique strains out there. But I think once legalization comes out, once micro cultivation licenses, a lot of the MMAR and ACMPR guys are going to want to become legitimized, and I think that's when they'll be able to bring in their genetics.
Wow, that's good. So we just have to keep rolling with the issue and make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's all coming down from laws, though. Like these fights, these feuds. It all comes down from the fact that it's been repressed and it's illegal, and it shouldn't have been. The businesses shouldn't need to be developing while you're looking over your shoulder, making sure the cops aren't there.
Yeah.
You know, and this has caused a lot of problems. I mean, this is another reason we need to reduce, not increase by 5 or whatever it is, the amount of laws we're having.
Unfortunately, a lot of it's just pivoting too. You know, I come as a pre-market legacy player, and a lot of times we look at the rules and they change weekly, and we have to think, okay, well, what's our business plan going to be? Where's our revenue coming from? What's our stream? How are we going to be able to do this? And you know, I've got a Google alert on my phone, anything that has the keywords Canada and cannabis in it. I look at that and I go, all right, time to change my invest deck yet again. Because it's like, you know, trying to figure out how to be able to bring these, you know, cultivators to market who have these crazy genetics. You know, we're spoiled for choice out there. But at the same time, I know a lot of guys who are just going to be like, "Ah, screw it. You know, why would I bother with this? Why would I pay, you know, wholesale $1 a gram for high THC varietals? Why would I have to do it in, you know, the way
$1 a gram?
I believe that's currently what it's going for. So that's about $450 to your per pound price at wholesale.
Wow.
And nobody's talking about it. It terrifies me.
That is frightening.
That should be the thing that every
that's like $1 grand a kilo or something, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Usually, your per pound hard costs on the product come up to just under $1,000, and that's okay when you can get 1,600 wholesale right now. But you know, we look into our crystal ball, which is down south. And what are you getting for a pound in Oregon right now? Like 400 maybe?
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody about this, and you know, 650, 550, 500, and it just keeps going down.
And your margin's gone.
And you know what? It was explained to me that it was the outdoor crop that really exploded. That was the time bomb, because once that hit the stores, it was, you know. And then trim, same thing. You know, I heard trim going for $25 a pound. You know, it's just, that's bonkers, crazy low price. So
yeah.
Why would you bother to farm at those prices? And like, why would you buy into this system if that's literally what it's going to be like? You know, and was it over $10 a gram retail price?
Yeah, it's gonna be 10 or 11 bucks here.
It goes to a 10% excise tax on it, but under $10 a gram, you're stuck at that $1 per gram thing. And I don't understand why they haven't allowed for the flexibility. You know, if they have been looking down south, why wouldn't you allow for the flexibility at under $10 a gram? Is it a way to try and, you know, regulate the market to make sure it doesn't go to $10 a gram? Because that's gonna.
Well, they're trying to tether it at both ends here,
but that alienates a lot of people.
It does, but then that's when you have to go down the conspiracy road, unfortunately, because on the other side of the coin, while everything you said is exactly true, they're also trying to tether it at the other end. They want to make it here so that it's cheap enough so that you don't have to or need to or want to go to the black market, but enough to make money. Like they can't even manage anything. Look at the price of gas. I don't know how they're going to tether a price at both ends like that. It makes no sense to me.
We both spent a fair amount of time in Australia, and I thought the cost of gas out there was brutal. But you know, I look at my buddies in Brisbane, and their gas is like $1.45. Currently in Victoria, it's about $1.59.
$1.59. You know, yeah, it's crazy.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not okay. That's for sure. So, but these amounts that you're talking about, these $1 a gram, etc. I mean, what do you see down the road from that?
I see that a lot of these craft grow guys stuck with their 2,000 square foot shows, which isn't a small show, and actually that can be quite profitable currently. I see them being unable to bring a competitive product to market because they don't have the ability to scale up, and then that means that they lose that economy of scale. They lose the ability to drop their hard costs just through sheer quantity. So effectively, if I was, I don't know, being cynical, I see it as the way to choke out the craft market.
Oh, I wonder if there's already any kind of earmarks in the overall architecture that are leading to that as a predetermined way to go just yet.
I'd say so.
I'd say so. Yeah, we were talking about it at the beginning of the show. This is really difficult because the other thing they've looked at. They have gone on these fact-finding missions. This is the conspiracy angle, is like, why would they go to these places and see exactly what you're talking about and not take that into account, or just Why would they do that? And at the same time that they're hiding that kind of information, they're not understanding that people are getting these great results from opioids. And you just see all these markers along the way. And then you've got the worst situation right now that I could think of as far as just pure vileness is concerned, is that in the United States, not everywhere, but in a lot of places, they are looking at these repatriation and compensation programs for people that they now know that they royally screwed over in a right sense. And a lot of folks in San Francisco and in Seattle, and I'm sure as a topic, as a valid thing, is going to hit other places too. And they are going to those folks first and saying, instead of being like we do here in Canada, you're a criminal one time doing this, so now you're out of the picture, and I'm only going to work with this guy who's brand new and just started and doesn't know anything yet. And instead of that, they're incorporating. They're not even looking at that as an option here. That's not even in any of the provincial, and provincial or national rules and regs coming down the pike, is to go, what about all these people you've penalized and put in jail? What about all that? And you can see how there are other successful models of doing this, and it just blows my mind that people stay there in their heads.
Well, and something you see that not a lot of people are talking about as well is, technically there is a spot in the federal or in the federal regs for people with nonviolent cannabis offenses on their record to become PICs or to be able to enter the market. However, something I'm worried about seeing is how easy is it for them to actually pass that bar. Something I'm worried about is people with nonviolent cannabis offenses to be actually able to come into the light. If there's some sort of prohibition of them being able to, own their own company or be a director in their own company because they had to operate in the gray market for quite some time.
You got to address that.
Are we really opening
it's really
it
a
up?
civil rights issue.
It is a civil rights.
is.
Yeah, you got to address it. You can't just pretend it's not there.
Yeah, and it's really ridiculous too. Like, and the fact is that a lot of minorities are targeted through this, and I think that,
for sure.
There's a lot of talk right now about the demographic shift or the potential for a demographic shift within the industry of cannabis.
Yeah.
Because this is a new industry, there's the opportunity for new entrants, and of course, there's going to be a lot of like the established types to be in there.
Sure.
However,
but it's being rigged to their favor already.
Yeah.
To the point of almost exclusion and to the point of anti-democracy, which is what they're always telling us we're living in.
And this is why I think we should have these discussions and talk about it, because then at least it's in the sort of zeitgeist, or it's in the public consciousness.
Absolutely.
Because I moderate panels every once in a while, and I make sure that there's a 50-50 split of male and female, because I've had some very powerful women give me opportunities for both speaking, presenting and writing.
Right.
And I really recognize that there's the potential here to really help a lot of people.
Well, there are only 4 guys in this booth right now, so I'm sorry about that. We, I
we'll
can't
overlook that.
We've had lots of
Apologize
female
to Jamie
guests.
Shaw right now. If you were still in Toronto, we'd get you here right now.
Oh, I love.
We
Jamie.
would.
Yeah,
No,
she's amazing.
We have a lot of women on the show, and it just doesn't always go 50-50 like that.
We
Because
also happen to be lucky that
the ratio would have been lower if you didn't show up today.
That's
So blame yourself.
I'm just part of the problem.
But we're lucky that there's a lot of powerful women currently in the industry, whether it's in the nascent LP market or in as legacy players. So it's I know, especially out in BC, there's a very positive and very powerful women grow chapter that that's quite impressive.
We're bringing this all in together. We're joking around, but these are all true things, because, like I said before, going back to your compassion with your father, this is what triggers it for you.
Yeah.
And you're obviously very, people-minded, compassionate person as well. I came at it from this. This isn't something to pat ourselves on the back about, however. I don't believe it's just a factor of how we really are. And when you live your life under the auspices of how these clowns are that are throwing the architecture of this bullshit that's going to fail so badly down, you realize that doesn't encompass any of that. It's all about, let's feed this giant corporation and screw you, and you don't get to have your company. And this guy's a really great craft grower, but because 8 years ago he got busted for something back when we had our heads up our asses, he doesn't get to play anymore. Like, these are mindsets coming from society that we all have to not tolerate. We can't take another 3, 8, 7 decades of problematic afterflow from this nonsense. So, I mean, this is maybe hopefully why they're also sensing to kick it down the road a bit. Because they say they're not ready, but I'm not ready. We're not ready yet.
I'm not personally ready.
Not with what's there.
Frankly.
Well, it's funny too because there's only a few end-to-end extraction solution companies sort of in the white market, the LP market.
Right.
Quadrant.
How does that work? Tell us about that when you get there. But go on with your point.
So Rosie Munden, another really amazing female CEO within the industry, she was speaking at Senate like a week or a couple weeks ago. Really did us all proud. We're all friends in this industry right now. There's only a couple of extraction technology companies. Quadrant Tech is one. Next Leaf Solutions, us. There's also MediFarm Labs is another one out in Barrie. So there's the first phase of the industry is going to be cultivation, of course, because you have to have the plant and you need the compounds.
Oh yeah, sure.
And then it's going to be extractions and isolation and purification, because once we get single bottles of these isolates of terpenes and cannabinoids and flavonoids, we can sit there and formulate, a sleepy time formula. So formulation is going to come next after that.
Right.
And then branding and marketing, I think, will be the fourth phase of
completely to make the way I see that, if I can break it down in my less than laboratory-minded mind. So you're just going to figure out all the pieces that you're going to play with.
Yep.
And know what everything is.
Yep.
So if you were doing a picture, you're right now figuring out how many pencil crayons you got.
That's right.
What colors are all there, and let's make our design from that.
And let's construct an image.
Let's see, and then know what we're really working with without open up there. Those are the police. You're not supposed to feel that good. There's no permit for this. So that's what you guys do, huh? So you obviously, how long have you known each other?
This weekend?
Oh, you seem like old pals.
This weekend, well,
But that's what happens also, right? That's in us. That's the part of us.
We share the fact that, compassion, you say, it's my touchstone with moving forward on products and things like that, and I imagine it's yours as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's easy to get along then.
Timothy Leary has this really great quote, and I won't even attempt it. I don't remember it all, but you go to Zen Pencils and type in "Find the Others," Zen Pencils. It's this beautiful comic. But really what the heart of it is, there's a lot of other people who are passionate about very similar things, and you just need to find them. And, when you meet somebody like that, it's almost like an instant click.
Right.
And further to that, I met Zach, which is Cam's partner. I was coming back from the holidays from Toronto back to Vancouver. I sat beside Zach's friend, Courtney, and, she was like, "Oh my God, what do you do?" Da-da. And I don't usually talk to people on the plane, but, she's very bubbly, very personable. And she's like, "Oh my God, you're a chemist in the cannabis space. Like, you got to meet my friend Zach and over at Noble Extracts." So, we try to get together at Lift Vancouver, and then we eventually did get together here in Toronto.
That's so cool. Yeah, so that's what I mean. We have that in us. We have to be the ones that are guiding how this industry goes, not these other, I don't know what to call them. Like the most complimentary thing you could call someone would be like a bookend almost. Making things the way they are just stay the way they are for no purpose and no mindful reason.
I feel really comfortable with that. People always ask, like, "Oh, you're moving into this, or you think you're going to be okay? You think you're going to get duped? Like, what's going to happen?"
Right.
I have a pretty strong faith in the fact that as long as I continue to exist and operate under the idea that I'm searching for the next thing that we can do with cannabinoid-based medicine and cannabinoid-based products, and I'm searching for the new delivery system or the newest formulation or something like that, I don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that there's a market out there for it, and it doesn't really worry me at all.
The market's there. It's just the stuff in the way that we need to make sure.
Am I going to be the next Canopy? God, no. That would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
You don't want that headache.
No, could you imagine it? I mean, I'm going gray as it is. It's going to be awful.
Well, when your stuff comes out, is it golden or what is it? What color?
It depends on the oil. It can go from golden. It can go from almost a pale yellow, 97% distillate to a, 56% unadulterated wax to anything. We can do various crystallizations. Something I want to get into is trying to figure out the tech to crystallize the minor cannabinoids.
Wow,
some
that
stuff
would really...
Some stuff that you can't get your hands on, but then it's a danger of finding the starting material. And again, now trying to operate in the licensed sphere.
So it must be pretty fun, right? Like when you're tweaking things and changing, you say this is here, then you move it up to a different point and you know, playing around with it.
I come out of my lab most days just exhausted messing around with things because you get into your zone and then you go, whoa, it's 6:30. I haven't eaten today.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Too often.
You get a little messed up because it's fun to play with. It's good work.
You're
it's fun.
in your zone, right?
There's so much in this, ladies and gentlemen. There's so much different, what would I call it? Opportunity, potential. No, it's already going on. It's explosive on so many levels, like from the creation of it, from the creation of inventions of things that will help the growing of the weed. That's going to be a whole industry. You know, there's 18 million vapes out now. I think there were about a dozen of them when I first came across this.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, this entire industry is flourishing. So many people want it. It's the natural flow. We're good-minded folks out here, you politician type people. We're coming from a good place, and this thing should just flourish. So why Kathleen Wynne has to? She's our premier, and she regulates the shit out of everything. And then she'll also go out on Twitter, and she never answers our allegedly continuing conversations. You promised me, and she'll go out and tell everybody, you know, I'm going to Grimsby, Ontario, to sit in a school gym because I'm trying to grow the economy and I'm trying to get good ideas. And we're like, you're squatting on a fantastic series of ideas while you're repressing democratic will. Yeah. So I don't understand why she thinks she's going to win the election. And we have these other two folks that don't really need to be there either. So it's a real problem for us.
I call that a win-loss. WYNNE loss.
It's a win-loss situation. She said she wanted to be Frank the other day. I said, well, today you're Frank and tomorrow you'll be history.
With any luck.
Yeah, so it's just strange to me, and I'm going to take a second here. I just want to see if we can do this. There's a couple of folks that I would like to see if we can get on the line here. Here we go. And they are down the street at what they like to call the LCBO. And what they do is they sell alcohol. Oh, they're ringing. Let's see if we can get anybody on the phone there.
LCBO Merchandising, how can I help you?
Hi, Merchandising. How are you? I was wondering, I know things aren't up to snuff yet with the other half of the corporation, the cannabis OCS, is it? So I'm looking.
So how can I direct your call? Then?
I'm looking for the similar number, like the equivalent number of the OCS to the, because the question I had was there's a big poster up that says hip to sip, and they're using that to sort of help promote alcohol. But on the other hand, there's no promotion allowed in cannabis, yet the science would show the results of the other way around. And I just wondered if you had same plans to do the same thing on the other side of the aisle.
That I cannot answer that question. You will have to actually go on to our website that specifically is geared for any questions or any information.
Well, it's just that you're not really supposed to promote it as a recreational use cannabis, and I certainly understand the perceptions of that. That's okay.
As I'm going to say to you is that I can't answer your specific question that you've just asked me. You would have to go onto the lcbocannabisupdates.com.
Okay, because there's no policy for that at the same folks that actually own the thing. Okay. Well, what do you think about it?
I can't comment on it. Okay, my question is, so if you wish, please direct yourself to the lcbocannabisupdates.com.
Okay, but you wouldn't talk about it after work at a beer or something like that?
No.
What's your personal opinion on the thing?
No.
It is ridiculous. If you don't have an opinion, I'll tell you. It's friggin' nuts. That's what it is. Doesn't make any sense at all. It's hypocritical. It's massively hypocritical. That's what I mean.
So you can comment and write your comments as in regards to however you see it, but at this point in time, I have no comment. Okay?
You don't need to comment. It's an alcohol. If you take a lot of alcohol, it does things to your brain. The science is there. Check with Harvard.
This conversation's ending. Thank you for calling.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks. Go have a drink. Oh, she slammed that phone down hard. She slammed it down hard. Oh my goodness. She slammed the phone down hard. She doesn't have a comment on this. Oh well. That's too bad for her. We are looking forward to it. But you fellas have been great for coming in here. That's for sure. I want to ask you a couple more questions, if that's okay.
By all means.
Yeah.
You're both.
Yeah.
You've got a hat on that says Noble Extracts.
I do.
We're with Cam Noble of Noble Extracts. Where can folks find out about you and what you do and where you're at?
We've got our website for nobleextracts.com. We'll be launching, well, that's up now. And we're about to announce the fact that we're doing a series on extract Q&As, how-tos, and sort of an educational series on what different extracts are, how they help, what they're best at, what they're worst at, so people can get an idea of what they're looking for, whether it's butane, bubble, rosin.
I don't even know all these things yet. I'm not a connoisseur.
Isolates,
I feel like
distillates.
a hillbilly sitting here.
It's well, and that's kind of what we want to do, because a lot of people, it's funny, we take for granted.
Tell me about bubble. I don't know if I know what bubble is.
Bubble hash. So your classic. You get your bags and your trim and your ice, and you shake it around, and you try and isolate different grades of hash. I believe it's the technique that Bubble Man Mark got used to.
Yeah, very popularized. So essentially what you're doing is you use the ice to cool down the plant matter and the trichomes. That's where all the cannabinoids and terpenes are actually held and stored.
Right.
And then you sort of agitate it, so you're mechanically agitating it, and like you're basically shaking off these little tiny trichome heads, and then there's a filter, and then you can sort of filter out the different grades of them.
The cold water makes the trichome stalks very brittle, so it makes it easy to break the gland heads where the majority of cannabinoids are, and the different filters actually act to I guess screen out most of the plant material, so you're left with this really nice hash. And that's just another method of making a concentrate.
Really nice hash.
Different layers of micron, smaller and smaller micron sizes.
Like through a screen or something? Or?
Yeah, and because the cuticle is waxy and non-polar, it doesn't dissolve in the water, so it's ideal for home use.
Oh, that's.
And then you press it.
Yeah, and then you press it.
Yeah.
It's ideal for home use, and then you just need a press after that. Yeah, so
go get your nug smasher.
Good.
Or a hair roller and some wax paper if you really want to go.
Paper.
Yeah.
The first time I saw that online, I said, somebody's just trying to make me waste some bud. I swear to God.
Oh,
there's
so
no way.
What is this thing with this is you talked to this will be a great dovetail to end the show, because we talked about at the beginning the Rick Simpson oil. It's all great and everything. There's ways to refine it, but now you have the same thing at the end here. So how do you do this with you take a hair?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's rosin tech that's been around, I don't know, 3-4 years maybe.
Okay.
And currently, in terms of making a fairly good concentrate for home, I think it's a pretty good method. But what they did first off, I remember watching this on Vice of all places.
Now, we're not advising anyone to do this.
Goodness, no.
I'm just asking you, what did they do?
Well, what they did and what I tried doing was you take your girlfriend's hair straightener, you tell her it's not going to smell like weed, everything's going to be fine.
Oh, so you got to buy a hair straightener.
Yeah, you got to buy a hair straightener,
$20.
or you got to talk to the missus and be like, look, it's going to be fine. I'm not going to wreck your hair straightener.
And she'll freak out.
You learn that hair straighteners are really important to women on the whole. Super important, more than you expected. And then you take a little piece of silicone paper or wax paper, whatever. You put your butt, well, not wax, but
parchment paper.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that'll work.
You put your bud in there, and you put
How much bud? What do you mean? Like a little, just a
gram, maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Take it in there, kind of compact it a little bit with your hand. Put it in the middle of the paper. Then take that hair straightener, turn it on to about, I guess, start at 220 if you have the ability to do so.
Sure.
Then squish it. And squish it really, really hard. Squish it in the paper.
Squeeze the hair straightener and sandwich it
with the paper and the bud in the middle.
Okay.
And you'll find that a lot of the cannabinoids and terpenes.
Hi, I'm Timmy.
And I'm Mary Jane. He's the newbie.
She's the doobie. And this is the show
where we
tote
cannabis.
Talk.
From both sides.
Is that even possible?